Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Living Life at Life U. I am your host, Dr. Veronica Garcia, and today I am with an amazing guest. She is very inspiring. She has been inspiring me since I started here at Life University day one. Her soul, her energy, the peace that she brings into any room is beyond limits. So, hi. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm very well, especially after that. Thank you.
It comes from the heart, and I thank you and I love you, and I am grateful for you to be here today with us.
Well, I'm very glad you're doing this series. I'm looking forward to seeing all of them.
We're super excited.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. So we brought you today to here because of all the things that I said, but also because of your understanding behind lasting purpose. What is lasting purpose? What does it mean to serve out of lasting purpose to you?
Well, you know, it's a wonderful concept, and I'm not sure people realize that Life University, you know, they think of it strictly as a chiropractic institution, which we're so much more now. Mm-hmm. But even though that was the original founding school or college of the university, it was founded on lasting purpose. It was founded on this model of to give, do, love, and serve from an inner-directed sense of abundance. So really what it did for the institution was center us squarely in servant leadership. Right. And that's a concept that says there is always an abundance available as long as we go back to that wellspring of gratitude. It just can never run dry. So that when we approach our work from lasting purpose on a daily basis, when we look at it, we're centering ourselves on others. We're centering ourselves on being of service, on discovering and filling needs and expectations, and also on the idea that you create more servant leaders. That's probably the foundational concept when Robert Greenleaf came up with the idea of servant leadership, that ultimately you are serving people to fulfill, and this fits in with the vitalism piece too, to fulfill their optimal potential, right. To remove interference to their optimal potential. And that's really what lasting purpose is all about as well.
I love that. And for the people that are not as well spoken into all the different types of leadership, what sets servant leadership apart from maybe other styles of leadership?
Well, it really looks at serving needs and ensuring that those who are the least advantaged are at least no further disadvantaged by decisions that are made. Wow. So the servant leader also understands that sometimes you have to switch it up because you have to be transactional sometimes. Sometimes the servant leader is the person who knows that sometimes the answer is because I said so. But that's not the model they're using most of the time, that transactional model. Right. For instance, when Dr. King, who was a beautiful example, Dr. Martin Luther King of servant leadership, said the first time, we're not crossing this bridge today. He kind of had to step into that space. Mm-hmm. He was serving the movement the entire time. He was chosen to be a servant of the movement. But on that day, he had to make a decision and say, yeah, not today. And he was criticized for that decision. But as a servant leader, he knew that he would be serving people best and preventing further harm to the most disadvantaged if he said, yeah, not today. Right.
So. And those tough decisions have to be made. I think a lot of even mothers and fathers and figures that care for children have to take also that role where you can see the greater good, right. See the greater outcome, and still be able to do it out of a place of love.
Right. Yeah.
I love that. Another question that we have for you: how would you say that lasting purpose? It's experienced through the community at Life University. It's experienced through the students, the staff, the faculty. How would you describe that?
Well, you know, in 2009, we kind of ran into some issues where our students didn't feel very well served. And we went through a lot of different leadership models to see what we could do, because we knew we had people who were serving their hearts out. So it was like, well, what's the disconnect here? What's going on? So we put together a group of people who looked at all these leadership models. There was not much of a model for higher ed at the time. There's been a whole lot more since then. But we found a consultant who'd worked in higher ed and had kind of fixed a couple of institutions that had taken on the customer or the student is always right campaign. And, that's a recipe for disaster because none of us know what we don't know, right? So we worked together with the entire campus. We really finally discovered that what the issue was to give, to do, to love, and to serve from an interdirected sense of abundance. Sounds great as a motto, but what does it look like on the ground? What does it look like when we're doing processes and writing policies? And what we discovered was lasting purpose is a wonderful model, but we're going to have to come up with some standards. So we did this process. Again, we engaged the entire institution. We started with the president's group. They sort of answered some questions about what service looked like on the ground for them. We took it out to supervisors. We took it out to the community. At one point, we even shut down the entire institution so that people could participate by departments to help come up with these standards. And of course, now that I'm, kind of touting them, I'm probably going to blank on them. So the part of to give, that's this attitude of helpfulness and gratitude that we come at our work with, that we just assume we're grateful for the opportunity to be of service so that well is being filled up every day, that we come at our work from that perspective. To do is to manage to the best solution, because we don't always have everything we need, and we have to do the best we can with what we have sometimes. And I love this one because, Dr. Sid Williams, our founding president, who articulated lasting purpose, he was really pretty firm in this idea that to do doesn't mean just taking action. It means taking action with a commitment to excellence and to achieve mastery at what we do, right? So that when we're practicing, but we're practicing toward near perfection, as he would have said, being nearly perfect. So that's an important aspect of managing to the best solution. To do, to serve, to give, to do, to love, that's making a personal commitment to build relationships. So to come at things in ways that are transformational, in ways that produce growth, in ways that aren't just one and done. Let me just say no, because that's the easiest thing to do, right? So to approach our work with the idea, and also with some proactivity and looking ahead, because I don't want to make a decision today that's going to create issues for this person, that doesn't give them a full answer, a complete answer that provides everything they need to do to take the next step, right? So that's the love part, and to also assume positive intent, to not automatically assume, oh, it's huge, right? And so much of that really reflects where we are in our space in the moment when people react to us, and we kind of tend to take it personally. It's like, it might not have anything to do with me. It might have to do where they are in their space right now. And then finally, the idea to give, to do, to love, to serve, that's the user-friendly always. That's the fourth standard, where it's like, let's make sure we're accessible. Let's make sure our doors are open. Let's make sure our faces are open and our hearts are open to being user-friendly. So it's like, if we can reduce it from 6 clicks on the website to 2, let's do that. If we can make a process and a policy manual that's easy to find, that's easy to access, and just staying open to the idea of change, and that nothing is going to work the same way for everybody every time. So just making sure that our processes and policies tend to be user-friendly more so than not.
I love that. And it really does impact, as an alumni and as a person that was here for her undergraduate, her pre-DC, and in my Doctor of Chiropractic program, it definitely impacts when you see the people of leadership in the institution really live by it.
Yes.
Because when you set an example, you're able to almost create a reflection of those students, create a reflection of the institution itself, and allow for people that might be, like you said, in a place of maybe of being taken aback by something that was said, done, or seen to actually take a second and reflect and approach that leader and say, hey, let's have a conversation, because it's going to come from a place of love. It's going to come from a place of service. It's going to come from a place of doing, and it's going to come from a place of giving.
Right.
And I think that definitely sets the university apart to open up the doors to whoever you are, whatever you are.
Yeah.
And that brings us into a beautiful shift and change, because you have a particular role in the institution. Talk to us about compassionate and integrity training.
Well, this one is pretty near and dear to my heart. It's a program that was developed by two professors here at the institution at the time. One is still with us, about to retire, sadly. And another has moved on to Emory University and working with the Dalai Lama. So, we had to kind of forgive him a little bit for
just like,
okay, yeah, you get to work with the Dalai Lama. Okay. So it's really a way to even better operationalize lasting purpose. So those 4 standards that I talked about give us a way to sort of make measurements and create metrics about, well, is this, user friendly? Is this managing to the best solution? And to do those things. But what CIT does is, and it's under revision as well, by the way, it's even more exciting.
Always improving.
Always improving, absolutely. A couple of modules are being added. But it operationalizes lasting purpose and actually provides people with skills to better show compassion in the world and be consistent. This is the integrity part, being consistent with our values so that our behaviors end up being more consistent with what we say we want in the world. So it's also very unique and special for compassionate training program, because there's a lot of programs that train in compassion, right? And they're good.
Right.
But what makes compassion integrity training unique is its focus on systems, which looks at not just how do I be compassionate on a one-on-one basis, but how do I become part of a system that's compassionate and has a servant leadership approach, so that the people who are the most disadvantaged in that system aren't further disadvantaged, right. So that there's a recognition of our common humanity, of our mutual interdependence, not just interconnectedness, but our interdependence on other people and the web of life and everything that happens as a system on this planet, all part and parcel of compassion integrity training. And the other thing that I love about it is that it's based on common sense, observations from thousands of years, common knowledge, again, part of those thousands of millennia worth of observation, and science, and in particular, to our interest, neuroscience. So what the very first skill in CIT is about learning to calm and positively affect our own autonomic nervous system, much of which, again, autonomic, but much of it is under our control, that we can activate our parasympathetic nervous system to, maybe somebody says something to me, going back to our other conversation, maybe somebody says something to me, takes me aback a little bit. It's like, oh, well, maybe I've got some skills to allow me in this moment to stay in my resilient zone, to not be pinging up and down to where I'm a little activated on the high side and I'm irritated and maybe angry, or maybe it kind of hurts my feelings and that makes me feel a little depressed and down, and now I'm activated kind of on this low side. But to have the skill to kind of surf that normal emotional ups and downs that we all go through, but stay in that zone to where we're not operating in a way that is inconsistent or not in integrity with our values of compassion. And there's mindfulness, there's heedfulness, there's awareness, there's empathic concern, there's epistemic humility, and I love that concept, which says, don't be too cocky about what you think you know, because you don't know what other people know. Like everybody knows something I don't know, right? So to tell us to be a little bit humble about where we get our knowledge and what we think we know, and now the new parts of CIT that are just about to be unleashed. I'll say that's maybe not the word. Released was probably a better word. Involve more work with systems and include conversations around power and how power expresses itself and how inequities and powers and how we can have power within and the power to and the power with. Like, how hard is that one, right? To have power with somebody and to be fully cooperative and working toward the same goals. All of that now will be included in the new iteration of CIT, which is super exciting. I haven't even seen the whole thing yet. So I'm very, very excited, right? It's just such good stuff. So it's almost finished. I've been involved a little bit, just mainly as kind of the beta tester to kind of go through and see how the timings work and all those things. Right. So, and also, you probably want to ask me another question.
No, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. I'll keep
on.
rolling. So also the thing that I love about it is it's meant to be an in-person, because this energetic exchange that happens when people are in person cannot be duplicated online. I love Zoom. I think it's a wonderful thing. Absolutely. Thank God we lived in that age when the world shut down for a pandemic, because we had the option then to take CIT to Zoom, because everything just shut down. Right. And people were scared and people were anxious and uncertain, and none of us had ever lived through anything like that before. So we were able to have CIT trainings and sessions and train facilitators all over the world during that time and offer skill one so that people got a greater sense of their resilience and able to build those skills during that time. Because, some folks were locked down in a really, really serious way that they reported back to us that CIT was literally a lifesaver for them. Wow. So that was huge that we were able to do that. And then the other thing that's happened is UNESCO and the Mahatma Gandhi Institute have picked up CIT as the core for the compassionate training they're doing with youth all over the world. And universities in India have picked it up so that now tens, if not hundreds of thousands of students are taking compassion training based on CIT.
And so that brings me to the next point. What do you have to do? Who is available to take the CIT training?
Well, it's a great question, and because it's the curriculum is under revision, there'll be a lot more of a splash about how that happens in 2023, because right now we're kind of on hold until all those pieces are in place. But I just heard yesterday that the manual has been updated, the facilitators manual. See, we've got to retrain all our facilitators and make sure they've got the new pieces, and the people who train facilitators, which I'm very fortunate to be one of those people. And once that curriculum is complete, and then we also have translations. We have it in other languages. So we've got just a little more work to do. And in 2023, it's coming. So just stay tuned. I'm sure there will be, that you'll get to interview somebody again to say when that's happening in 2023.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing all this beautiful information and to just shine a light on things about vulnerability, I think, that allow us to be ourselves and bring our light into the world. And thank you so much for being here with me today. It's been such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Anything else how people can contact you?
Oh, yes. I can be reached at happy@life.edu or rebecca.koch@life.edu. And it's always an honor to be of service. So please don't hesitate.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us here today. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.